Hobbsy rode well, didn't he?
He did.
In that race.
Yeah. Craig?
I did actually. I watched the opening laps of the first Subaru race. Obviously, I had to go and get ready, and he was in front of a lot of front runners and in front of a lot of factory bikes. And I think the NVIDIA team have done him proud this weekend. Obviously, he's on a level playing field as far as tyres this week.
Peraribo, who scored a couple of points, having been invited onto the PSG1 Kawasaki team to replace the injured Mauro Sanchini, who suffered that unfortunate broken arm at Brno. The familiar PSG1 Kawasaki in all yellow. Peraribo was he said he wasn't sure whether he was enjoying having 1,000 cc's rather than 600 round here when I asked him.
Yeah, we battle with him.
Of getting such a, but you got a wonderful start. You set yourself off to the right, aiming for a gap. You were just determined it was going to happen. You could do with passing some of it onto this guy who admitted last night he doesn't actually like the traffic, so he's probably never up for a really good start from back there on the grid.
Yeah, I like it when there's a lot of people in front of me going into the first couple of corners, because I know that I see the person in front of me and aim for 2 people in front of him, and that's that's my tactic.
And it works.
Actually,
yeah.
What got you off the line there was really good reaction times. You saw you move.
Yeah.
You didn't move before anybody else, obviously.
But you went instantly.
Absolutely. The instant the lights changed, you were away, and you gained probably at least a row before anybody else had hardly moved.
We saw Mark Griffiths, the team.
Going on the hairpin, there was some guy up at Druids that every time I was about to tap on the throttle was blasting his air horn and taking my concentration away. So it was good to have the support. And
that's why you finished that far down, is it?
Yeah.
Now go on, tell him. Next time, I tell him, don't blow your horn when I'm trying to concentrate on, you know.
Well, Torsland and Walker are about to suffer that treatment, I think, as we line up with Corsa on the front row of the grid alongside Muggeridge, Torsland and Laconi, all to play for. Get the start, boys. And again, Corsa gets a beauty. Muggeridge bogs down a bit, but the Ducatis looked a bit stronger off the line this time. But Muggeridge amazingly recovered, and it looked as if he managed to nudge his way through into second. Walker's been pushed onto the curb.
Where's Vermeulen? That's what we want to know.
Norrie Harder's on the inside of Torsland and Nick's third place off him. And look at Laconi. Oh, Laconi makes Andrew Pitts sit up going through Graham Hill Bend. Corsa, Muggeridge, Harger, Torsland, Laconi.
And there's Vermeulen, just going around the outside of Walker there. He's not as far back as he was, but he really needs to make some moves now.
He's got to have a couple of Craig Jones opening spell here, I think. And number 99 also got a good start on the FP1. Terrible start once again for Frankie Kelly, who we think is out on his awful number 2 bike, because we saw the original bike being pushed away off the grid and replaced.
Tennis hubs there just behind Abe.
Yep.
And in front of Bostrom. So.
Which means that Abe's got a terrific start from way back on the grid. Abe, where was he? On the 6th row of the grid. Look at Norrie! Oh, he almost took 2 at once.
Yeah, paid the price.
And then paid the price.
Back to third.
Third to first to third in one swell corner. And Torsland this time is right on the case and right on the tail of these 3 guys in front of him. Well, it's looking more like it.
We're going to see. We're going to see what he can do. No excuses now.
Carl Muggeridge trying to peek, see if there's an inside line there available, but he never did manage to quite snatch. Oh, he snatches at the lead going into Druids and nearly snatches himself off the bike.
Heiko never more than 2 inches away from the guy in front's back tyre.
And once again, he dives down inside, doesn't he? Just pick the most. Oh, Muggeridge is gone! Oh, Mugger's got unsettled there by Harger going inside.
He needs to move, mind you. Yeah, he's actually more on the inside there. All the riders are on the outside of the track there. I just had visions of the Foray crash from last year.
Now, Muggeridge surely was a bit unsettled then, James, the way that Harger whistled down inside him, down the bend.
Yeah, that wouldn't help, but basically just power on.
Square it off.
Yeah, just tried to square it off to get up the inside of Harger and power on a little bit early, and that's the result. Nearly caught it, actually.
He did, didn't he? For a moment it looked like he could stay on.
The third time.
From there it doesn't.
The Bronco just got the better of him at that point. Oof, so he's added to Gary Rothwell's skid marks down there. From here comes Harger. This time he does make a sound pass as he goes into Sterling's and out. Can he make it stick? He's got to sit it up, and he's got James Torsland just behind him there, squinting in the gap through the middle. But Harger's pushed back once again to second. Now that's where Torsland's going to hear the noise, Craig, as he comes bursting back there into clear ways.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The fans, everyone,
completely touching each other.
This is fantastic. Hopefully this can allow James to get on the back of them and those two not to break away.
Toseland is looking very composed. He's very like the bike's behaving itself under the brakes, James. It's looking good.
Yeah, it does. In fact, from the first three, it's Haga that looks like he's moving around a lot more, but he always does. And he did the whole way through the first race, and it didn't hold him up at all. And it didn't wear his tyre out any worse than, or much worse than Corsa, who was legendary for being able to keep everything in line and save the tyre.
Chris is starting to make a move forward. He's given himself a lot of work to do back in 7th.
Look at these. Look at that. Look.
They touched each other.
Oh yeah.
That's elbow to elbow.
What, you didn't believe me?
No,
they were touching each other all the way down the start finish.
Come on, Toes, get on the game there. The Fahaga 127.58 was the fastest lap on that lap. Chris Walker in that distinctive helmet that you can pick up from any of your local RI stockists. At the moment, Hobbs is higher than he ever was in race 1. He's in 12th place behind RB, in front of Bostrom, Clementi and Perariba. And just behind Steve Martin, who's hopefully got 2 footrests to work with at the moment. That must make a heck of a difference, James, not having a single footrest to operate with.
Yeah, you can normally, if it does break off completely flush with the hanger, you struggle a little bit. You've got to find something to put your foot on, which means sticking it into the hanger. But if you've got a little bit, sometimes it breaks off with a stub left, you're all right then.
By the way, folks, back home, if you're wondering where Craig Jones has got to, he's halfway through an evil-looking piece of French bread at the moment, so the poor lad needs feeding after his World Supersports effort, so we'll leave him to that for a little while. Dropping downhill, Walker's hanging onto the back of Vermeulen. And Craig's rearing out of his seat. Well, unfortunately, with a face full of French bread, he can't say anything. He just splutter crumbs.
If he starts speaking now, we're going to be wearing it.
James Toseland is just lost a little bit of the toe of those front guys, and he's now beginning to get Regis Laconi closing down on him, his teammate at Xerox Honda. And a fastest lap again, 127.272 for Nori Haga in the lead. Brave ride by Yukio Kageyama, and there's the bunch, Norik Abe and that Yamaha of Dennis Hobbs. Haga to Toseland, the gap spread out to 1.447 seconds, and Toseland on about 127.7. He suffered a half-second deficit on Haga's time on the last lap. Across the finishing line, and that's lap 4 complete out of 25.
And from what I could gather from the Yamaha boys, there's no changes whatsoever to the bike. It's the same bike and same tyre setup.
And they must be overjoyed to have Noriyuki back to his jovial self after having a rather guarded first half of the season.
I actually said to my old mechanic, who now is one of Haga's mechanics, are you on bonus for any of that? He says, no. No bonuses. They spent it all on hospitality, apparently.
Oh, great. It seems a bit unfair.
And Pitt's doing better than he did in the first. He's up in 5th.
Oh, and here comes Troy Corsa, and thought for a moment he'd found room to go through on the inside towards Hawthorne. Certainly Regis Laconi has. He passes Toseland.
But no, he doesn't.
He doesn't. He goes way wide and loses out to Andrew Pitt as well. Does that include Pitt? No alteration to Pitt's bike either?
We were talking about Noriyuki's, but I don't think so. They didn't mention anything, so I think...
Andrew had said that after reverting to the settings from the beginning of the season, that's what
he was a lot happier.
Yeah, he was happier and he didn't want it to move. That was Haga mono-wheeling out of Stirling's there. No wonder he couldn't steer the thing, and he's ended up dropping behind.
I think looking in the background there, the little moment that Laconi had probably gave Chris the urge to push a little more. He's back on the back of that group.
Yeah.
Look at that. Haga just swaps lines at will, and Troy Corsa has a quick look over his shoulder and he finds that James Toseland is still there in 3rd place, but a good 40 metres behind.
Yeah, and one thing that the Yamaha people are saying about Haga's bike, he's really happy with the front end now, so he can alter lines. He can change lines, he can run off line, he can pull it back mid-corner. The thing he's most bothered about is getting the power on smoothly and not having the bike move around. And you can actually see that, particularly out of clearways onto the start and finish. And that's why Corsa is able to open the throttle more steadier and earlier in a way, and the bike's a lot more stable coming out, which gives him a lot better run onto the straights.
In which case, Hager's riding like the bloody-minded genius he is, really, isn't he?
Yeah, you always know that he has it in him. It's just whether you can sort of find it and bring it out.
You were saying before we came on air that, Craig, that it was you wanted to see a bit more out of Stalker. Is he giving it you a bit more in this race?
Yeah, it's difficult. He looks really, really fast in the first section of the track, and it seems like he might lose a little bit of time out in the back. I don't know whether it's feeling with the bike or whatever, but normally if you haven't got a feeling with the bike, then the Graham Hill bend, which is a downhill left-hander, that's probably the most affected, and he seems to be the fastest there, so
it can't be that then.
I don't know, it's very strange.
He was saying before that he's basically quite happy with the setup, but it's when the tyre wears, it's terrible. He can't ride around any problems, and when the tyre's worn, he struggles more than anybody else, so that's what he sees it as. So this is why he's gone quite well early on in both races and then dropped back, and this is why, probably, he says.
Really fast in the hairpin and down this hill.
We've lost Dennis Hobbs. Oh, is he there on 18? Might be in 18th place. Oh dear me, that's a moment and a half, isn't it, that he's had somewhere around the track. So Dennis the Menace drops back out of the points for the first time today, and Chris Vermeulen is beginning to press the Xerox Ducati of that man Laconi. Hager, you could only see one man then. I thought that Corso had disappeared for a moment.
He's a lot harder to hide behind than he used to be. He's Hager. He's lost about what?
He's lost a stone at least.
Yeah, he's lost about 7 or 8 kilos, huh?
Which the rider's weight presumably makes a difference to the performance of a bike. Steve Martin's nearly 2 stone heavier than Gary McCoy. Does that make a difference to the FP1's performance?
Well, quite obviously, but the difference with these bikes is a lot. The percentage difference is a lot different with these bikes than it is, say, a 125 or a 250, where it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
These, it isn't as important. In fact, sometimes a little bit of weight is a good thing with these.
Look at David Jeffries. He's probably one of the best British superstock riders there ever was.
Yeah.
And he was a good 15 stone.
Yeah. Going through that entrance to Clearways, when you're in the kind of midpoint of the Clark curve, that looks lethally bumpy going through there.
Yeah.
It actually drops away. It drops away quite markedly. Then it comes back up at you. Then it's bumpy all the way onto the start and finish on the inside.
That's actually what presumably unsettled you and threw you off when we had that red flag in World Supersports.
Either that or just good old-fashioned incompetence. I don't know what.
That's what we want to see from Norrie. Just back it in, if you will. Was he anything to do with inspiring you, John? Because you've got a bit of his style about you, that cheerfully backing in.
I think what inspired me, we had a problem with the Triumph when I rode that back last year and the year before, where it liked to slide into the corners, and I had to adopt my style to suit it. Now I'm on the Honda. The bike doesn't make me do it, I make the bike do it, and I feel that I can gain time into the corners doing that.
You're a liar, you just think it looks good.
Yeah.
Well, presumably in the same way that Hager and Chris Vermeulen also presumably are in control of it and like the way, certainly that guy Vermeulen is, and he obviously feels it benefits him.
So with the slipper clutches that fit in the bikes, you've got to do that with the back brake now. You're sliding the back with the back brake, not on the clutch.
It depends really on the gears. If you go back a couple of gears quite fast, then that can send the bike sideways.
Right.
Like down the back straight, it's a place that you don't want it to be doing, but into that fast right-hander, which is back 3 gears into 3rd gear.
Yeah.
It's probably still over 100 mile an hour entry, and the bike was completely sideways today.
Just on the clutch?
Yeah,
on the gearbox?
Which is on the clutch and the gearbox, nothing to do with the back brake. I never use the back brake when I'm riding. Sometimes out of the corners to keep the front wheel down, but that's it.
Well, that answers my question I asked you in the first race about how dependent on the rear brake. It sounded, from the way the lads use the rear brake to trail and keep the front wheel down, it sounds like the rear brake plays very little part on real mean braking.
Yeah, Valentino Rossi uses the back brake all the time, left, right, in, out, round. And Mick Grant, an old team manager of mine, used to say it's like going into a boxing match using only one glove, as using one brake.
Is that what he said?
And you only use the front brake. Do you only use the front brake yourself?
Yeah.
And never use a back brake at all. The lever could have fallen off, I won't even be able to tell you. But the thing is, when the bike's straight up and down and you're using maximum effort on the front brake, the rear wheel is virtually not on the floor anyway. So the least little touch of the back brake, it'd lock up.
Yeah, that's it.
What you tend to find is in the wet, most riders will use a bit of back brake. Just steadies the whole bike up.
Yeah, a lot of time in the wet, I send the bike sideways to start with on the back brake.
Yeah.
Just so I know where the back is.
Norrie's having one or two of those moments again, which he seems to be able to do, coming out of Druids once more, where Kageyama was so lethally unseated yesterday. Again, Troy looks mean and determined as they go down past Nitro Norrie's signalling board into Paddock Bend. A great whoosh from the following pack. And that's Tolsland, Pitt, Laconi, Vermeulen, Walker stonking through together, and then Lanzi leading Kageyama, Bostrom 10th, 11th Reba, 12th Steve Martin, 13th Abe, 14th Neukirchner.
It's a brilliant ride for Reba.
Yeah,
First time on the bike this weekend. And,
yeah, it is a good ride.
Fantastic.
He's proven that he's a world-class rider.
I've always felt that, but he's never had much of a chance on a big bike. Oh, here comes
Vermeulen.
Vermeulen.
Stuffed.
That's one ex-World Supersports champion taking on another. Andrew Pitt tries to respond, but the Honda has the advantage. Oh, stuffed. I could have saved myself. And I was to save it of 18 words there. Tolsland is leading this second wave, but I get the feeling now that Vermeulen's just going to start applying the pressure.
Yeah, but it's too late. I mean, I really do feel it if he could have got away with these two, which from where he was on the grid was going to be difficult anyway. He could have definitely run with them, I'm sure.
Actually, Vermeulen is lapping at the same rate, exactly the same rate as the leaders, which is quicker than the guys around him. They're doing 127.8s. This is a pretty hot pace, you know, because Corsa reckoned he was in good shape because he felt he was the only one amongst the leading bunch who could lap at consistent 128s through the race, and they're doing 127s.
Yeah.
That's Pitt going back another one.
But for this battling, you just let Chris hang in there, because I feel when it comes down to aggression, he's going to be able to put some moves on these guys.
Yeah. I just wonder whether he's going to have the tyre for it later on in the race.
He's looking now down the hill.
He is.
We just didn't have the pick-up speed coming down out of Druids.
He's really fast around that left-hander.
Tolsland are now being menaced by Vermeulen. At the front, Haga leads, Corsa second, third Tolsland, fourth Vermeulen, fifth Laconi, sixth Pitt, seven Walker.
The 10 car to power there.
Yep.
Coming past the Xerox Ducati.
Oh,
Nearly.
almost.
Very close. He came from a long way back though.
Yeah, he did.
Maybe if he gets a little closer on the next lap.
In the shade under the trees, down Dingle Dell.
It's a difficult track this, because you try and put a dark visor on and the sun comes in and out, and as you come out of the trees, it almost shocks you as you go into the bright sunlight.
Yeah, it is. It's a big contrast between light and dark.
Yeah.
What did you have? Did you have a dark visor on?
And I went for a tinted visor, which helps you in under the trees and when it's not so bright, but when the sun comes out, you have to almost squint to see where you're going.
What you want is a very focal visor, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
That's what you need.
I don't know whether that's quite the word, but we know what you mean. Oh, and there goes Walker. Walker uses their pit lane exit to dive underneath Andrew Pitt. Corsa has to stay second behind Haga. Even 11 laps out of 25 complete, and James Tolsland loses out to Chris Vermeulen, tries to respond straight away, but the Ducati can't quite do it. And at the moment, with a 128.5 second lap for Tolsland, almost exactly the same for Chris Vermeulen. Tolsland is getting under a bit of pressure now. There's three of them right there, and Stoker looks like he means business.
I think Chris is going to check out from this group now.
Oh, you sound fabulously confident on his behalf. You think he can deal with the Ducatis here?
I was actually talking about Chris
Vermeulen. Yeah,
I beg your pardon.
You did say Chris before, and you definitely meant Chris Walker.
Yeah, I meant Chris Walker. Yeah.
So let's just get it straight then.
Yeah.
So you're right. Vermeulen's checking out straight away, and
Yeah.
Stoker's getting inspired to follow.
I hope so. I hope he can follow through and do the business.
You don't want to be following through at the minute. He's got a race to finish.
Don't forget, you can get one of those Chris Walker hats. One of those Chris Walker St. John's ambulance hats is available to you. But I'm sure just at cost price or something similar from any RI dealer.
Oh yeah. They don't sell them to make any money there. It'll be all cost price. You'll have 1,000 people now beating the door down the local lad out here wanting a cost price helmet. Well, Jack said we could get one.
Oh, I'm sorry. You'll pay if it's an Arai, it won't come cheap.
I think it'll be full retail.
Seems like Harger's starting to break Corsa.
That's what I thought it looked like. They've been concentrating on the second bunch, but
Chris is all over the back of it. Looks like Laconi, is that?
Yeah.
It's all over the back of him. Just hope that he can get by and put some air in between them.
James once confessed to me that that's Whittam, not Toseland, that he would use almost any helmet he got paid for. Some of them virtually made of wood. Do you favour a proper good helmet?
Yeah, I prefer to wear good helmets. Currently wearing RI, the same as Chris. And actually, before this weekend, I spoke to RI UK and said I'm going to have a flag of St George on my helmet. And they said, "Oh, well, you can't because Chris is having it." So
there you go.
They came up with the idea first.
I must admit, I said that, and I did mean that, but I have to say, I wear fantastic. I wear AGV now, and they're fantastic. But in the past, if the money were right, I would have worn a pan on my head with a piece of string holding it on. What do they say? If you've got a 10 bob head, you wear a 10 bob helmet. Well, there's nothing in my head worth saving.
10 bobs worth. We got a brief glimpse a few moments ago of Sam Corser, who became a mum for the second time 7 days ago.
And looking absolutely radiant, I've got to say.
She is. Oh, look at Norrie again.
And
Out wide there, it's slippy.
Where is that down in? Was that Paddock Hill or was it on Clearways? Clearways.
Clearways.
Yeah.
There have been some moments there.
Which is why it's slippy, but it's also the camber's really bad as well. It drops away and then comes back at you.
There was exactly a tenth of a second separated Harger and Corser on the last lap times.
Stalker's all over the back of Laconi. Let's hope that he can put that move through.
He doesn't seem to just quite have the pickup speed coming out of some of these slightly slower turns.
Really fast in and round the corner. He's just struggling out, maybe lacking a little bit of punch.
I think he struggled. I really do think he did say that he struggled with the rear tyre. Once the tyre's gone off, he really does struggle to get it out the corners.
Hobbs is still lying in 18th place, but that's no disgrace really, with Sebastian Jambert and Frankie Killy just ahead of him.
What's happened to Jambert? He was touted as going to be the next big thing. Had a good run last year around Magny-Cours.
He broke his leg in that pile-up on the first lap at Silverstone, didn't he? And he's only just coming back from that. And
I guess,
his confidence seems a little impaired at the moment. Because, of course, he rode well here last year as a wild card. Yamaha France came in on a few races last year. Yamaha Italia, meantime, lead this race. Norrie Harger and Troy Corser. What has that man Corser got in reserve?
I think he's got a little bit because he's up the pace again and he's maybe not closing the gap, but he's keeping it as it is.
Yes, he is. They're identical lap times on that lap. And Vermeulen, I think you were right about if Vermeulen had got away. Look at this, Laconi and Walker looking underneath James Toseland.
Seems now that Laconi's holding Chris up, he just needs to find the space to go through.
Well, it's actually Laconi in front now, and it's Toseland just in front of Chris. There's been a bit of swapping going on.
That's where the Ducati seems to pick up really fast, Craig, and just pull away a couple of bike lengths.
Could be anything as simple as gearing. Maybe Chris hasn't got a gear that is perfect for that corner.
Yeah, he certainly got one that's pretty good for going through Surtees. This is where can you see the front wheels pawing the air as they come down into Pilgrim's Drop at 160. And Walker, strong on the brakes, closes back up towards Toseland.
I think it's only a matter of time before he might pass James.
It's the idea.
Chris will see Laconi getting away as well and feel that he has to make the move now before it's too late.
This is the battle for fourth. Laconi, Toseland, Walker and Pitt.
Well, even if he's going quick or not, he always looks like he's fastest on track, does Chris. That hunched over, a real aggressive style.
Across the line, 27.9, 27.77 for Corser. And he's hovering threateningly, isn't he? Having opened up an over 100-point lead in the championship now over Chris Vermeulen. He's got Chris behind him, he's got Norrie to deal with in front of him.
Walker's past Toseland.
He has as well, going up into Druids. They've emerged with the yellow Kawasaki ahead and now about 9 or 10 or a dozen bike lengths behind the Ducati of Laconi. And there he goes.
Into Druids.
He did squeeze
He only just
it.
got through.
Oh, that was tight. That was brave, wasn't it?
Stuffed.
It's a simple word which I must learn to use more often. That's not going to be great news for James to be overtaken by Chris.
He'll not like that.
And now Andrew Pitt will be starting to give him a tough time as well. What is it that makes a guy either manage to keep or not manage to keep really consistently hot lap times going right through a race? You know, how
Sorry, Jack, you're just eating matchmakers, can't you?
What? Why do they not be able to do it?
Yeah, like Tosland seems to be struggling a bit at the moment. So there could be any number of tiny reasons for it not happening.
Yeah, lack of confidence, a lot of it. If you've got something going with, I mean, these two seem able to put up with any kind of tyres going off, which is a main thing in a race that happens, a tyre goes off. And some people, whatever, lack of confidence, lack of setup on the bike, you know, they don't like that. And obviously lap times suffer.
It's important that you set the bike up when the tyres aren't at the best. If you set a bike up while the tyres are at the best, that's only good for probably the first quarter of the race, which is what I've struggled with this weekend. Yeah, maybe 2 or 3 laps at the most. And even after 2 or 3 laps, your tyres start to deteriorate quite fast.
But you do get riders that are just they're fixated on just having a lap time, a number on a board that's good.
Yeah.
And so they just keep throwing brand new tyres, qualifying tyres, anything they can do to get that time, which is fine. But you know yourself, you come to a race, you want to do reasonable times for 25 laps, not brilliant times for 3 laps.
Well, look how consistent those times of Hager's are. Now, does he go out and work on race distance setup? But it looks that way, the way that he's able to hold, and obviously, of course, sitting that close behind him, he's equally consistent.
The team says he's always been confident on race rubber.
Norrie Hager leads as they complete lap 17 out of 25, 8 laps to go, and almost identical lap times once again, just a 1/10 of a second in it, in Hager's favour this time as they plunge up Halewood Hill. James, we were talking about how teams go about sorting out and setting up bikes and catering for tyre wear. Who's at the moment this time? Oh, look at Corsa. Now, of course,
pair of them absolutely together.
Troy's usually just showboating when he does things like this. Now he's really doing it for serious real.
Seems like Hager can come really tight into the corners, carrying a lot more speed than Corsa.
He does.
Corsa has to be really wide
to get a late apex. He does actually. We've noticed that in the first race.
Norrie's always been able to do that.
Seems able to turn it in early and keep it going quick.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Chris Walker and Andrew Pitt comes up alongside James Tosland as they plunge down Pilgrim's Drop. He's got him.
Nothing wrong with that Yamaha speed.
No.
Chris is starting to reel in Laconi.
He is as well.
Oh, look at his head nodding and shaking about in excitement.
You can always tell when Chris is training.
I don't think he'll be happy with this result, but if he can get Laconi, then I think that's a fantastic result for himself and for the team and for the fans, all the fans that have come here to watch him.
What you don't realise is his team is quite an underfunded team. Not underfunded, but a lot less money to throw at the job than any of the bikes that are around him now.
He flies to Japan tomorrow morning and tests with Akira Yanagawa throughout next week at some obscure little Japanese track that he's typically Walker. He said that Yanagawa probably just about lives at, so he's expecting to be struggling a bit to stay with Akira. But anyway, they're going to do some testing at Kawasaki next week.
Am I right in saying that Chris's bike isn't factory? It's a privateer team, isn't it?
It is a privateer team, yeah, but I think they have been getting... There was Silverstone, there was some Kawasaki people.
Oh, look at the way he turned tight inside Laconi.
That's not going to work.
He'll try.
He tried it though.
It's really easy in that corner if you're doing anything slightly wrong to lose the back end.
I get the feeling that Laconi's almost holding it up at the moment. He's
That's what it
desperate
looks
to get
like.
past.
Must have just pulled the pin.
Who has?
Chris.
Has he? I thought, well, Norrie's trying to do the same. Again, he was just under a 1/10 of a second quicker on that last lap, but it's not getting away. That menacing figure is still there on the Suzuki. Well, you said that before the race began that you wanted to see Chris start pulling the pin. Who's that?
That's 2 of them down.
Oh,
Patronus and Abe.
Is it Arbe gone down with a Patronus? Yes.
And
It
Steve
must have
Martin.
been Steve Martin. He torpedoed Steve Martin coming out of Druids, was it?
Yep.
I believe it looked like
no,
Abe lost the front and
Halfway around and just
the
took him with him.
bike collected Steve.
Steve Martin, who was lying in unlucky 13th place, would you believe?
That was Steve
unlucky for some Aussies.
It looked like we were trying to ride 2 bikes there. We're certainly sat on top of the pair of them.
Yeah. What a mean trick. So another poor day for the Fogarty team here with just the 1 championship point to show. Not such a poor day for these 2 guys who are going to share race wins. It's a question of who's going to do the winning.
Walks in front of Laconi.
Yep. That had to happen.
And Walker has got past Regis Laconi. Well, Craig Jones has become, you're almost becoming, what's the word here? A predictor of events, Craig, seeing how fast that this man's going.
I think probably the best thing for Chris now is that Andrew Pitt gets on the back of Regis and they hold each other up a little bit and give him a little bit of space.
Yeah.
I think Chris can go fast when he's on his own and using his own lines, not when he's getting attacked from every angle.
This is a disappointing result from Tolson carrying that #1 plate here in the UK.
Yeah, considering as well, he got right away with him. He was in a really good close third and with a gap back to 4th, and didn't seem to be able to do anything with it, to be honest.
The problem is every single one of these riders wants it as bad as the other, and they're all world class. And
yeah.
it's just who's on form on the day that probably decides.
There's a lot of factors. Who's got a bike that's set up to use
What were you saying about the here comes Corsa once again, the Yamaha Italia guys, that they do go out and do some distance sessions with the worn tyres?
Yep, of course they do. They said they'd done 17 laps on the race tyre and still running good time, so they were really confident that it was going to last at least sort of 3/4 distance.
When did they fit that in? Was that yesterday's free training in the afternoon?
I didn't know you'd ask, so I didn't find out. But at some point, doesn't really matter. They've done it, so.
Chris has already put a little bit of wind in between himself and Regis.
He's got right away, and then Pitty's just sandwiched between the 2 Ducatis.
Maybe Chris Vermeulen's the next one on his list.
I think there's going to be a gap.
The next gang along, incidentally, Kagayama, Lanzi and Bostrom are also nailed together in 8th, 9th and 10th places, and then Pera Rieber in a brilliant 11th ahead of Max Neukirchner.
That is a good run for Rieber, but I would suggest that Walker's going to have his work cut out to catch Vermeulen. He's about 5 or 6 seconds in front.
Well, actually, Vermeulen's lapping a little bit quicker too.
Vermeulen said the fastest lap of the race, the fastest lap of
that
the race
lap.
on that lap.
On that lap, 127.94. Yeah, just a fraction ahead of Haga, who was a fraction ahead of Corsa. Incidentally, Killy somehow is pulling ground now. He's catching Neukirchner. He's come through the 13th place on that #2. Ooh, Andrew Pitt really rocking himself across the curbs there. And here's Tosland attacking the Yamaha. This would be a great ride for Walker to take with him to Japan.
Yeah, it would.
To test with Kawasaki.
Absolutely.
The drum of those Ducatis on the overrun again. And Norihaga has got about 3 or 4 bike lengths clear of Corsa as they go along the bottom straight in the sparkling sunshine here at Brands Hatch on yet another beaming World Superbike afternoon.
3.5 laps left.
Now, does this mean, you thought when Corsa calmly left it to just going into the final lap, and once again, wonderful stuff from Mark.
But it doesn't seem to hold him up as long as it's a fairly small slide like that.
Yeah.
He just seems to be catching back to Haga just at the right time to me.
You get that suspicion, don't you? You thought he'd gone a bit early in the first race when he went at the end of the penultimate lap, but it didn't seem to be any problem to him.
No, it was quick. It was enough quicker for it not to make any difference. I still can't see if it came down to a last couple of corners dust up on equal terms. I can't see Corsa sticking out as far as Haga. He's got a championship to think about. He's got, he'd still actually increase his lead in the championship. In fact, Haga said that he felt in top speed the Yamaha just had the edge on the Suzuki, but what he felt was that Corsa could, out of most of the corners, and that's Corsa out of the seat. He's trying hard.
He is. That Corsa was just a bit quicker getting there.
Just able to get out the corners a little bit quicker, yeah.
Yeah, it looks that way. They're both trying very, very hard. This is great viewing. Well, I hope Michael Scott, demigod of MotoGP journalists, who's here this weekend, is enjoying this.
Who's your money on then, Jack?
Well, my heart says Hager and my head says it's got to be Corsa. Right. But with Norrie, you just never quite know. It's possible.
Craig?
Hager.
Yep, me know. I'm going to go, yeah.
You think Hager might just have the edge this time?
I do, yeah.
Right, okay. 2 against 1, folks. Here we go. Too late for any bets to be laid.
Hager's doing all the work here. No one really appreciates how much of a difficult job Hager's got and how much easier it becomes for Corsa just to follow. Following's easy and leading's hard.
Yeah, but actually doing something with it when you both go on this pace is another matter.
Yeah.
James Toseland dives through Graham Hill Bend, but he's a couple of places behind Walker now. Walker is really looking like he's sewn up that 4th place if he could just hold this 128.2 consistent lap channel that he's fallen into. Doesn't seem to be any problem with worn tyres there.
No, quite the opposite.
Kapayama still holding off Lorenzo Lanzi and Ben Bostrom in their battle for 8th place. Oh, look at this. Now we're heading towards the point at which Corsa took the lead as they went towards the final lap of the first race, James.
Yeah, this is it, the stick and lift. We'll find out what he's got now.
He was a little bit closer to that, though, as he came through there on that particular occasion.
He's close enough, though, if he has a plan.
Right, well, the plan, this is it. As we go into the last lap now, the Suzuki plan has got to take shape.
He's not going to do it there.
Noriyuki Haga cuts across. He knows that he had to defend that inside line, and he was sharpish over to an early apex at paddock.
It's so difficult for Haga because he's got to set a time. He's got to defend in a way and do a time that's quick enough to win. But he just don't want to make any mistakes and run wide, or just even run a foot off line, and Corsa would have him.
He snakes his way out of Druids.
Corsa isn't close enough to pass him at the moment.
I don't think so, unless Corsa gets
had a bit of a slide there.
Unless Corsa gets a real good run onto the back straight, just here by squaring this corner off.
This is critical, going up and out of Surtees.
Yep, it is.
Norrie.
He's got a run.
He got a good run onto his shoulder. He's going for the left-hand side this time. He's, for the first time, he tries to go around the outside. It's worked. No! Haga responds. Haga squeezes back and refuses to give way, going into Hawthorne's. Side by side down the Derek Minter straight. And Corsa's got it. Norrie's got to produce something special now. And Corsa's gone off. Corsa's gone off the track. And it's Norrie Haga's race, surely, after one of the great rides, even from him here at Brands Hatch. Norrie Haga has finally caned Troy Corsa into submission.
That was a real save there from Corsa.
That was. I thought he's going. He's so quick going onto the grass there. I thought he was going to crash.
It's a fast corner and there's not a lot.
And I just think there might be a bit of a roar as Haga emerges. And the grandstands rise to Nitro Norrie as he curves round out of clear ways and takes the checkered flag for a brilliant second race victory here for Yamaha, ahead of a brave and annoyed Troy Corsa in second place. Third for Chris Vermeulen, and fourth, another great welcome for Chris Walker, who just beats off Regis Laconi, Andrew Pitt and James Toseland, who'll have to almost 2 back-to-back World Superbike races.
Just like buses.
You never see one and they all come at once. Well, it's pretty good. It's just a great wow for us in World Superbikes to have the guy back smiling and enjoying his racing and looking so confident. I was going through the championship results. Our compliments once again, as I say, to Dennis Hobbs and the NVIDIA R1 there.